We are live. It should be on Facebook, Instagram, all of those. You can put a chat in. I'm gonna give people time to get in. Come on and get in. Get in. I do apologize. We are starting later than expected. All right, Celia, I see you there inside of here. I gave you all the link to actually come in here instead of going to the actual live, but you should be able to see me and hear me. Is that correct?
I tried to connect to all those channels, but something wasn't working.
Because
I
it's
needed to find.
1 second.
Yeah,
Glad you're here.
with my notebook and all.
Please come up for me. I don't know why you're not. Give me 1 second. I need to check something.
I can go back out and see if I can go back in my Facebook. I just need to put, I guess, key in my password. I tried to do that, but it wasn't.
I need to turn you on. Okay, there we go. Go ahead. I can hear you now if you say something.
I was saying I could probably log back out and log back in under my Facebook.
You're fine. Stay here with me.
Okay.
All right. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad that you're on. I'm waiting for some people to get on. We'll get started. I know we're starting later than expected. I know we would have had more people, but you'll be able to share this. Share this. You can share this on your Facebook. If you go to your Facebook, you should be able to pull this up as well on your Facebook.
I've been able to pull up the presentation, the last
You can see me.
presentation.
You can see me on your Facebook right now. Okay, do
Yes.
me a favor. Share that to your page. Like share it. Share it. I want everybody sharing. If you're on, share. They should be able to see it on my page, on my business page. We got YouTube. Our people from YouTube on here. We got people on from Twitch. We got people on the from LinkedIn as well. So we're going to get started very shortly. But it's just glad you came in this way. I got somebody on here with me as well. Oh, this is great. And get used to it because I'm sure I'll have you on some of the shows in here as well. So don't worry about it. Just get used to being in here.
Okay.
All right. All right. So I'm just gonna give a couple of minutes for people to know that we went live, for them to come in. I've got to learn how to truly invite to it. But other than that, we are good. Just give me a couple of minutes and give people a couple minutes to know. We're going to be talking about understanding money. We're going to be going through the history of money, as well as we're going to be going through the concept. I can share. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I can invite. Oh, good. Okay, cool. Let me do this. Found how to be able to invite people. Finally, that's what I've been waiting for. So what we've been doing, these are what we call workshops. So we're going to be doing workshops every single day. Um, and so these workshops, not every day, but we're going to do 8 workshops. It's Financial Literacy Week. And so we're going to be doing workshops as well. Okay. You're in here twice for some reason. I don't know why.
I tried to do it on my phone to put you live on Facebook.
Okay. No, Facebook, I'm already live. Just go into your Facebook and go to my
Oh,
page. And then,
oh,
so come out on your phone, go live on my page, and then we'll do that. Okay. Welcome, welcome, everybody. You can type in the chat if you want to. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes. We just want to give people more opportunity to get on. We're going to be doing a workshop, Understanding Money, tonight, an outstanding workshop. And I am looking forward to being able to get you on. Keep climbing in, keep coming in. We're going to get started, like I said, ASAP. Share this page with other people. We are starting a little later, so I'm going to start getting right into the information now. All right, and we're going to move forward. All right. So Celia, I'm taking you off the screen and I'm going to bring up where we're going to start. So the first thing I want everybody to understand is this is going to be an 8-part workshop. Okay. We're still doing the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We're still doing all of that, but this is going to be an 8-part workshop in Financial Literacy Month where we're going to be talking about different subjects. Okay. And so those different subjects, you're going to start seeing lives that are coming up, and it's going to be a step-by-step subject matters that we're going to be going through, as I stated on the flyers, right? So own your own home, how to own your own home, no credit check, right? How to increase your paycheck without a job, without having to add more time to your paycheck, excuse me, without starting a business, right? We're going to be looking at becoming your own bank, how to legally avoid taxes, all of those type of concepts we're going to have inside of these eight workshops. Okay. And so you can go to Dawid Israel Credit Repair, Dawid Israel Credit Repair, and you'll be able to see it there. You can also chat. You can interact with me through Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, any of those channels, or Twitch. You'll be able to see and join and be a part of this as well. Okay. So Dawid Israel Credit Repair is the page. This should be showing up on my regular page as well. And so this is what we're going to be doing over these next 3 weeks. Okay. And then I'll also be inviting you, for those of you that are ready to move forward, you actually want to move forward in anything that I talk about, I will help you and get you started in that as well. Okay. But these are informational. These are things that are going to give you information so that you can switch your mind or switch to get the understanding of the secrets that the millionaires and billionaires have been using. But in order to do that, the first thing we have to do is understand money, understand how it works, and understand where we actually want to be. Because most people do not understand that, right? I don't care how much education they have, wealth is not taught in school. Wealth is not, I will repeat, wealth is not taught in school, right? It is taught at home. And so it's okay if you did not, get that if you did not get educated on wealth, right? If you notice, most people who talk about anything about money have the same conversation that their parents had, because wealth is not taught in the schools. Wealth is taught at home. So the key question that I ask people is, do you believe that Warren Buffett's children had the same conversation that our children had about money? Do you think Oprah Winfrey's children, or if she had children, will have the same conversation that we had? No. And that was purposefully done. It was done in order to make sure that there was always a working class and that the average person could not compete with the wealthy 1%. It wasn't an accident. It was done on purpose. That's a historical fact. I'm not going to get into the historical fact on that today. That'll be in another workshop. Today, what we're going to talk about is the history of money. And then we're going to talk about an income statement, how the income statements work, and how you want to understand how cash flow works and where you actually want to be. The other workshops are going to build on top of that to make sure that you get to where you want to be and get an understanding of where it is that you want to be. Okay. So let's start off here, right, with understanding money here. This is the history of the United States money system. So we're going to look at the look at the history of money starting back from 1775, right? So to finance the Revolutionary War, the Continental Congress issued paper money backed by the anticipation of tax revenues. Now, I want you to understand that first paper money was actually introduced in 806 by the Chinese, believe it or not. but this is the history of the United States. So, backed by the anticipation of tax revenues, it was the first federally issued paper. Without solid backing and easily counterfeited, the continental currency notes quickly became devalued, giving rise to the phrase "not worth a continental." Continental currency depreciated rapidly, becoming practically worthless by the end of the war. So I want you to understand, it's not strange in the United States or anywhere really, but in the United States for currency to have value and then devalue, have value and then devalue, right? So we need to understand the ebbs and flows of currency and how it works, right? Because you need to understand when to buy and when to sell. And once you understand this on a national basis, you can take the same concept internationally. They'll just be using different wording for the exact same structures. Okay. So once you understand the concepts, these concepts work anywhere in the world. All right. So I don't want you to limit yourself to a United States conversation. I want you to expand your understanding to another level. But since we're talking inside of the United States, right, I want us to at least understand the history of it because we're going to understand money. Congress passed the first Coinage Act in 1792, giving the United States Mint responsibility for creating coins for public use. This happened in 1792 to 1863. Silver coin is usually 90% silver with the remaining 10% of copper for strength. The law directed money to be made from copper, silver, and gold. Today, these coins, quarters, and dimes are comprised of 75% copper, 25% nickel. So, in other words, they're not worth silver or gold today. I want you to keep that in your mind as a key note. In other words, money in reality is worthless except for the imagination of people. As long as people consider it worth something and give it value, that is what keeps a currency afloat. The imagination of people. I want you to get that because when we deal with stocks or any other instrument, what's keeping it afloat? So as people put stock, as long as other countries stock inside of a coin, it is worth something in today's society. Back then, it was literally worth something because it was made out of silver or gold, right? So it was literally worth something. But today, it's not worth anything. I want you to be clear because nickel and copper is kind of expensive, but it's not gold or silver. I can promise you that. Gold coins. In 1795, the first official gold coins were minted in the United States. When gold was discovered in California in 1948, two new denominations were struck, the gold dollar and the double eagle. Popular among collectors, modern gold coins are used primarily for investment purposes, right? So they were used for investment purposes. Texas dollar came out, 1837. The Republic of Texas first issued paper money in 1837. This currency was called star money, right? It was called star money, okay? Why it was called star money? I do not know, but it was called star money, I guess because the Star of Texas, right? I can assume, but I can't make that a fact, right? Until I know. So currency was called star money for the small star on the face of the bill. There's your answer, see? Small star. The star money was not face value currency, but rather interest-bearing notes, similarly to a treasury bill that's circulated by being endorsed over to the next payee. In 1838, Texas issued change notes with elaborate designs on the front and blank backs. The so-called Texas redbacks were issued in 1839 with the name coming from the reddish color of the back of the bills. Okay? So let's move forward. This was all considered quote unquote progress, right? State bank notes. Issued by state chartered private banks, state banknotes became the dominant form of currency after 1836. With more than 7,000 varieties of color and design, they were easily counterfeited, causing confusion and circulation problems. No federal regulations regarding banking existed, creating what is referred to as the free banking era. Because of the public's lack of trust in banking industry, right? Which you're going to see again. Why? Because we're hearing all the trouble with the banks, and you're wise to actually have that distrust of it, which is why we talk about becoming your own bank, literally, right? So, because of the public's lack of trust in the banking industry, there were widespread bank failures during this time as the public removed their funds from banks. And you're going to see that coming soon. Eventually, Congress levied a tax on state bank notes that decreased their value until they were eventually phased out of circulation. Then came what? Confederate currency. And here's what I want you to get. I want you to notice the ebbs and flows. So now we have going up, we have a currency that goes up, then it gets devalued, it drops. Another currency picks up from it. It doesn't disappear. And this is the concept that I want you to get, because everybody has this mindset that when one economy tanks or one country's economy tanks, that the entire world's economy. No, that's not true. When one economy tanks, you're looking for the next currency that actually is going to have value. So when one currency is devalued, you're looking for the currency that increases in value, right? And if you're following the historical pattern of money, and if you understand where money is moving right now throughout the world, then you will know where to put your interest as far as what currencies you need to have while they're devalued at this time, that are going to become valued in the future, right? Of value rather in the future, right? So during the Civil War, the Confederacy printed the issued notes from the treasury of its normally formed government. The Confederate States of American dollar was first issued just before the outbreak of the Civil War. It was not backed by tangible assets, right? Which means that it would be what type of currency? A fiat type currency. So it's not backed by anything. What is it backed by? The belief of people. I want you to understand that. But simply by a promise to pay the bearer after the war. So this is where you're first seeing what is called promissory notes. If you look at your dollar that you have today, it'll say on it promissory note. It's a promise to pay. It's not actually paying for anything. So when you're switching money between hands, all you're doing is actually promising to pay that person in the tangible asset, which would be gold. However, as you're going to see in a little bit, this money's not backed by anything. So you're actually trading air, is what you're really trading. But you're trading the belief of what that value is worth. So in other words, I believe the dollar is worth $1. Therefore, I can go to the store and the person at the store believes that the dollar is worth $1. So they'll give me something that took time for them to build in order, or time for them to create in order to give me value, equal value, because they believe that that's actually worth $1, right? And then the next person they take it to believes it's $1. Well, what if I say I don't believe it's worth $1? I don't believe the dollar's worth $1. You can't trade me dollars for that, right? They can't say, well, I'm going to go get the gold that's actually equals $1 in value, like it used to be, right? So now it's not worth anything in reality, right? It's not worth anything at all. And this is where people get stuck, because we have placed value on something that actually has no value. But because people believe it has value, you need to learn how to utilize it to your benefit. That's very important. So everything is based in perception, right? So perceived value is what increases. So inflation, all of that is based on, I mean, they have numbers to justify it, but it's really based on perceived value, right? So it was not backed by tangible assets, but simply by a promise to pay the bearer after the war. As the war began to tilt against the Confederates, confidence in the currency diminished and inflation followed. By the end of 1864, the currency was practically worthless. So we see it devaluing. It had value, it rose to its prime, right? Just like any stock. Forex, but this would be more like Forex. It rises to its peak and then it drops. And then something else takes over, another currency, right? And then it rises to its peak, it drops, and another currency. So I want you to be clear on that. Fractional currency, also referred to as paper coins and shipmasters, as the quality of paper was so poor that with a bit of starch, it could be used to make paper mache. Like plasters to be used to treat legs, was introduced by the United States government following the outbreak of the Civil War. These fractional notes were in use between 1876 and issued in 3, 5, 10, 15, 25, 50-cent denominations. Fractional currency was used to provide change at a time when people were hoarding gold and silver. So you saw with the devaluation, just like you hear now, you need to buy gold, you need to buy silver. They did that as well then. Right? So if you know the past, what can you do? You can be prepared for the future. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything is a repeating process. So if you start knowing the past, you can master the future. You can be positioned. So, okay, we're here at this juncture. How do I position myself for the next wave of success that's coming through? Right? So now 8 is demand notes, 1861 to 1917. And this is a very serious time because this is now we're moving into the time frame where the Federal Reserve is going to be created, right? That was done in 1913. So to finance the Civil War, the U.S. Treasury issued paper money for the first time in the form of non-interest bearing notes, right? Popular. Due to the distinctive green ink, the U.S. government placed demand notes in circulation and used them to pay salaries and expenses incurred during the Civil War, right? So now we're going to move forward. Now, national banknotes from 1863 to 1935, backed by United States bonds. So these were backed by bonds. These notes were issued by national banks and chartered by the United States government. State banks issued their own notes prior to the Civil War. But in 1863, the National Bank Act established a system of national banks. The new banks issued these national banknotes with federal oversight. Remember, 1913, right? The Federal Reserve was created. This currency was sometimes called hometown notes due to the wide range of towns and cities that issued them. More than 7,600 banks were in existence as of January 1st, 1929. National banknotes were discounted in 1935. However, they can still be redeemed at their face value at the Department of Treasury. Okay. Next came gold certificates. Notice all of these are overlapping notes, right? These are overlapping right here. These last three are overlapping. So gold certificates, 1833, right? First authorized by the United States government, gold certificates were first printed in 1865, backed by gold coin, right? And bullion deposits. These were first for the exclusive use as transactions between banks. So only banks could use them at first. In 1882, a general circulation gold certificate was issued. A gold certificate was a document that showed ownership of gold without people having to store the actual gold. So what happened at this time was people started bringing their gold into the banks. for safekeeping, right? So remember, they were hoarding gold. So the banks came up with a program to be able to get people to put their gold in the bank. So people were bringing their gold to the bank for safekeeping, right? Hence safes, as you know, as of today, they were bringing their gold in there, and they were giving them these type of promissory notes, or these weren't even promissory notes so much as they were they might have been promissory notes, but they were actually designed as a certificate, right? As a certificate proving that you had ownership of gold, right? Without people having to store actual gold at a rate of $20.67 per troy ounce established by the Coin Act of 1834, right? And that was a lot of money then. That was a lot of money. These gold certificates were used as actual currency redeemable for goods and services, right? The gold now these were real. These weren't based on people's imagination. It was backed by gold, right? A commodity that is truly backed by a commodity, right? So this was real money. So when you were trading this, you weren't trading this based on the imagination of a person. No, you could actually go to the bank and go get gold with these certificates. So this is how money was enacted at this time. The Gold Reserve Act of 1933 required the surrender of all gold certificates, rendering them obsolete. So in 1933, they did what? They required the surrender. After they done everybody trust them in gold in the bank, right? They required the surrender of all gold certificates, rendering them obsolete. However, it is legal to collect them today as restrictions were removed in 1964, right? So what did we have happen in 1930 that was so drastic, right? I believe 1930, yeah. The stock crash, the stock market crash, right? The Great Depression, all of that was 1930. So the Great Depression allowed people to feel obligated to the country to surrender that gold because they needed it to do what? Keep the country afloat, according to what they were saying. However, it is legal to collect them today as restrictions were removed in 1960, right? Silver certificate, 1978 to 1963. Notice these are all overlapping. These currencies are overlapping. The Coinage Act of 1873 caused standard silver dollars to stop being produced. The Treasury printed out promissory notes. Now we're back to promissory notes on paper that were legal tender, redeemable in silver dollars. So this was actually backed. These were backed by silver dollars, which were the silver certificates, right? These were silver certificates printed from 1878 to 1963 and were backed by silver bullion purchased by the U.S. Treasury notes. So the silver dollar, right, was an actual commodity-backed dollar. Okay. Redemption for silver ended on June 24th, 1968. So you can't use these anymore. You could not redeem silver anymore. So everything went where? Into fiat currency, meaning not backed by, for currency not backed by a commodity. And I talked about that in something we talked on earlier. With millions of unredeemed silver certificates still in circulation. Federal Reserve banknotes from 1913 to 1935. Now, remember I said 1913, and this is still overlapping. What was created? The Federal Reserve, right? 13 years later in 1926, what was created? The IRS. So there was no IRS until 1926. I want you to be clear on that. So all of this is taking place without an IRS, right? Federal Reserve banknotes were first authorized by Congress in 1913, when the Federal Reserve System was established. These notes were obligations of the specific Federal Reserve banks named on the face of the note. Issuance was discontinued in 1935. Federal Reserve banknotes differ from Federal Reserve notes in that they are backed by one of the 12 Federal Reserve banks rather than by all collectively. They were backed in a similar way to national banknotes using U.S. bonds, but by Federal Reserve banks instead of chartered national banks. Federal Reserve banknotes are no longer issued. The only U.S. banknotes still in production are Federal Reserve notes. So let's see. Federal Reserve notes, 1913 till now. So this is what we're in now. Now we are up to date, right? Federal Reserve notes were introduced with the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 to help promote a central banking system, right? This is creating now a central banking system. Federal Reserve notes comprise more than 99% of today's paper currency and are currently issued in denominations of 1, 2, 5, 10, 10, 50, and 100. That should be a 20 right here. 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, and 100. Before 1945, Federal Reserve notes were also printed in denominations up to $10,000. But the larger bills were retired in 1969 due to the lack of demand. The Federal Reserve does not print currency or mint coins. It acts, I don't know what just happened, so I do apologize. 1 second. Let me go back. So, the Federal Reserve does not print currency or mint coins. It acts as a holding facility and distributor for the printing the United States Mint, right? So, this fiat, this currency stopped being backed by gold or bonds. It is not backed at all by anything. Right? And we see that in fiat currency. So it is a currency. Fiat money is a government currency not backed by a physical commodity, gold or silver, but rather by the government issued it. This is very important to understand. Okay, this is a key point here that is very important to understand. All right. So I want us to move forward. And so why is that conversation important? Because I want you to understand that the money that you have is only valuable in your mind. I want you to understand it's only valuable as long as other people perceive that it is valuable. And I want you to understand that money is valued and then devalues, valued and devalues. This is called the law of the curve, okay? And the reason I want you to understand the law of the curve is because everything in real life is based on the law of the curve, meaning it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. But most people having jobs, the issue with having a job is that you see a straight line. This is called the illusion. But it was important to create the illusion, right? So that people would have the idea or the thought process, right? That they would be able to have that they would have stability, okay? And so a lot of people, it's hard for them to understand the law of the curve because companies take loans out to make sure that they can pay their employees. So you never feel the law of the curve. You're just getting a straight line. So you never learn it. Now, business owners, you constantly go through the law of the curve. As a business owner, you're going to have good days. You're going to have days that are down. You're going to have good months that go up, or good years, and you're going to have years that go down. So you're living in the law of the curve. You're feeling it, but you're feeling it from a standpoint of cash flow. So what we want to do is we want to create a flat line inside of the law of the curve. And the way that we do that is truly understanding cash flow and understanding income statements, balance sheets, and break even analysis, right? So we need to understand those things. It's very important to understand those concepts. And so I want to take this down to a personal level, and then we're going to expand it into a business understanding level as well. So here we see on this statement that is created, we have income, expense, cash on hand, accounts, assets, liabilities, investments, and interest. Now, if you know this, and I'm going to put this back up on the ticker so you can be clear. I want you guys to see this. The wealthy do not spend money. The wealthy do not spend credit. The wealthy spend interest. I'm going to repeat again. The wealthy do not spend credit. The wealthy do not spend money. The wealthy spend interest, right? This is a very important point. And why do I say this is an important point? It's important because of this. Your goal in life is to build this, the interest. And let me show you what I mean by this. The average person, I don't care, even if they're wealthy, they're trying to build, as not the average person, the above average person is trying to build assets. The average person is trying to build income. But the wealthy, those in the true know, those that are in the know, they're building interest. And this is very important to get this distinction, because if you don't grasp this concept, you're going to miss everything else that I'm sharing in these next 7 workshops. So you need to grasp the concept of interest, which we're going to get into tonight. Okay? So all of these things are important. Income is important, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Expense is important. Cash on hand is important. Accounts are important. Assets are important. Liabilities are important. Investments are important. And interests are important. But what your goal is to get interest-bearing items that are paying you out interest residually, whether you go to work or not. Everything you do is designed to bring in interest, a return on investment in the form of ongoing residual interest payments. This is the key to wealth. This is the secret. This is what's missing. And those that do and figure that point out are wealthy, and their children are wealthy, and their future generations become wealthy. Anywhere else you get caught and stuck in this race, this quote unquote rat race here, anywhere you get stuck here, right, you will not be wealthy. You can have a lot of money. You can possibly take care of you and your children. But until you master interest, you will never be able to pass that down from generation to generation to generation. All right. So let's talk about each component and let's raise up each component and what it actually is. Okay. So, income, right? Income is the first subject, right? So, what is income? Income is cash flow. And I advise you to take a screenshot of this, write it down, whatever you want to do, but lock this in because you need to take this and print it off, like for real. Because this right here, if you take this and you start putting your life to it, you will win in life. So I want you to really take a screenshot of this. So cash flow and income are synonymous. Anything that is bringing you income is cash flow. So we know cash flow is the key, is the new coin or keyword everybody's hot on. Like credit is a keyword that everybody's hot on right now. If I say, do you want to get your credit repaired? Everybody's gonna say, yeah, I want to get my credit repaired, because we understand. If I did that 20 years ago, people would be like, well, maybe, I don't know if I want to do. But today, because it's the normal thing, everybody's in the know on credit today, right? Therefore, everybody will run to credit. Cash flow is the key word of 2022 and 2023, basically. So everybody understands that, but that ain't nothing but income. And we've never had a problem creating income. The quote unquote African American community in the United States, right? African American, which would be in the United States, makes 1.6 trillion dollars in cash flow. Actually, more than that. We have 1.6 trillion dollars in spending power, which is discretionary income. That's our spending power. So we have more cash flow than that. Making money is not our problem. So making money has never been our problem. We can make money. We know how to do that. The question is, where do we put our money when we make it that's going to give us interest payments? That's the key. That's what we got to find. Where are we going to put it? Where do we put our money? Over these next 7 workshops, we're going to talk about where you're going to put it. That's going to give you the highest returns with no risk. Right? So we're going to talk about where you could put it, where you get the highest returns with the least amount of risk. With no risk, actually. And then high returns with the least amount of risk. We'll talk about both of those, actually. And that's what the wealthy do. And once you understand this, you will understand why the wealthy are wealthy, the poor are poor, and the middle class are middle class. And when you can get that distinction, when you can truly understand that, you will be financially free. Now it's all about putting a plan together, right, to achieve the goal. When you do this right, you should be bored with investing. Investing should be something easy that you do, that you understand the return of investment that you're going to receive with almost no risk. Right? And so I want you guys to really understand that. So income is everything coming in to you, right? So let's say you have a job. I'm just going to put the word job here. It could be anything. And let's say your job makes you, let's say, $2,400 a month. Let's just say that. You might be making more, you might be making less. But what that is cash flow. Because you know this $2,400 is coming in every month. You could break this down in the pay period. If that's the case, and we took that about 4 weeks, we have what? 800 a month, right? Actually, we'll be at 3,200. So let's say 800 a month, and we're at 3,200. Right. So, I mean, 800 a pay period, and you get paid 4 weeks. Right. So now we say, let's say that's a pay period every time, because we're going to use every time you get paid off of it, basically. Right. Now, that would be income. And we're going to add more income as we go through this. Now, what would be an expense? I want you to understand the difference between an expense and a liability. Okay. So let's deal with an expense. An expense is, let me see what I got here. That should give me that automatically. No, I didn't do that. Okay. So an expense is what it would cost you, right, in expenses. So gas, let's say your gas, right? You have gas and electric. I mean, gas and electric, phone, what else? Water. These type things would be expenses, right? These are expenses. So let's say your gas and electric, your phone, your water, all of that. This would be your total expenses. So let's say your gas was 300 a month. Let's say your phone was 100 a month. Let's say your water is, let's say it's 100 a month, right? So your expenses here is 500 a month, right? Just in this scenario, you can have more expenses, less. But what are expenses? Expenses are monthly bills. Monthly bills that you have to pay, or things that you have to pay regularly. All right. Now, cash on hand is how much money you have presently. Right. So let's say I got $5,000 cash on hand. Just saying. It could be more, it could be less. Is what you have now. Accounts are where you're going to put your money. I might have this in a checking account, right? Which would not be smart. But I'm going to use it because this is what we normally do, right? So having it in a checking account, let's say I got $5,000 in there, right? And I say, and it's giving me 0 return on my investment, right? Let's say that, which is where many people have all their money in checking accounts. I talk to people all the time, and that's what they say. I have my money's in a checking account, okay? And we're getting 0% return on that. Remember, our goal is to do what? Get interest. So we're getting 0 interest on $5,000, right? Sitting. Because why do we do this? Why is it in a checking account? Because we've been taught to do what? Let me respell account. I apologize. Why do we do that? We do this because we were trained to do this. We were trained to spend money, not invest money. We have to learn to move from spending to investing, to return on investment, right? So we want to move from checking account, right, to at least a savings account. So what if I took this 5,000 and moved it here instead of there? This is your first step. I'll get into deeper steps as we go through this. I'm gonna be using this chart, right? So let's say I did 5,000 here, right? And I'm getting 1% return on it, right? Now I've got a 1% return annually on this, right? Which would be what? $50 a year coming in. So we're going to find out later that's not wise either, but it's better than a checking account because at least you're getting something and you're moving here. Item, savings, 1, right? I'm getting what amount? I'm getting 1%. It should be APY here, actually, but it's okay. I'll fix that. And what's it giving me? 1%. And we could do the amount also. I could do it that way too. Let's just do it that way. So hold 1 second. Let me do amount. Right. And then let's do APY. And I'll have this totally fixed by the next one, but don't worry about it. We're on the fly right now. We're making this happen, right? So let's APY. And let's say in here we got $5,000, right? And we're getting 1%. Right? And I could do yield too, and I might add that for the next one, but for now, I'm just gonna leave it like this. Let me see if it'll do it. I don't want to put interest back though. I don't want to do that again. I just want to color this. But anyway, okay, so the key thing is we want to hold 1 second. Let me get this color. Wrong color. Wrong color. Any color back. I know I didn't use that color. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay, so we got that. So now we got the APY, interest savings 5%. Okay, so we're moving now. So now we got some money up in here, right? We've got interest coming in. And we know that the yield, right, is going to be $50 for that year. That's not a lot of money, but as we start growing and as we start learning how to use this, we're no longer going to spend money. We're going to amass money and spend interest, right? And so we want things that are going to bring or bear interest. How do we do that? We got to create cash flow. So now we got a job. What most people try to do is through a second job and a third job, right? This is how the average person does it. So now they might have a second job bringing them 400 and this third job might bring them 200, right? Per pay period. So now this is how they're trying to increase their money, but they're killing themselves. This is not how the wealthy increase their money. Wealthy people, most of them aren't even going to have a job. What they increase their money with is what's called assets. Now, assets, according to this society, is anything that you own, right? It's anything that you own, okay? But we want to utilize a different term on assets, right? We want to utilize this key phrase. And that key phrase is an asset is anything that is making you money, right? While you're not working. An asset has to make you money. An asset, for instance, they'll try to say that all your furniture are assets. Yeah, they're assets once you sell them, but you can't borrow against your furniture, really. I mean, you could possibly if it's something spectacular, but you're not going to borrow. They're going to go in and look at true assets that you can borrow against if you're trying to get money from the bank, right? Now you can play games and use those things as your net worth. There's nothing wrong with that. You might need to do that at times. But I want you to, when we're talking about truly building wealth, I want you to understand an asset is something that is going to make you money. So what is an asset? Starting a business is an asset. That is an asset. Why? Because it's going to make you money, right? That is an asset for real. Once this business becomes profitable, in the first 3 to 5 years, it might end up being a liability, which we'll talk about in a minute. But it's an asset once it becomes profitable, right? The next thing that is an asset is home ownership, not your house. Your house is a liability. Why? Because your house is not going to make you any money. It will increase your net worth. But I want you to recognize that your house is a liability. It does not make you money. You can only borrow off of it, which puts you in what? Debt. It's like credit. Credit is debt. It's a liability. It is not an asset. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. It is not an asset, but it is a tool you can use to get assets, as long as the asset is going to make you more money than the interest that you have to pay for the loan or the credit. Okay, this is very important concept to grasp, because people think that it is not. So home ownership, I can't put that. That is incorrect. The truthfully is investment. An asset would be rental property. And I'm going to explain why. We're going to talk about investments versus assets. Starting a business creates cash flow. Right? So we can put business up here as cash flow as well. Business. And let's say this is bringing us in. Let's say you're going to make money daily a lot of times in business, but let's go weekly. Let's say your business is bringing in a cash flow, right, of $5,000 a week. Or let's say let's go less than. Let's start here at $1,000. Let's just be cool with it, right? Let's say you start a small business and you bring in 1,000, right? Let's say this rental property is bringing you in on rent, let's say $1,200 a month. See, now you have, but the asset here is how much, what we would put in the amount here is how much it is worth, right? What is the worth of the company, of the rental property? So let's say let's say you bought this house for $30,000 or $50,000, but it's appraising at $200,000. I'm just going to use that. It's appraising at $200,000, right? Or let's say, right, you started your business, but your business might have value now. And let's say your business appraises at, let's say it appraises, maybe it's worth truly 100,000. It's worth that. Or you're grossing, let's say $100,000 a year. Let's say we're grossing that, but it's bringing you in 1,000 or whatever after expenses and everything. But you grossing 100,000, and you at 10. That right there that's pretty. You at 1%. That's about right. 1 to 3% is going to be about right after expenses on the average business. Right. So let's say it's bringing you in 3,000. Right now, let's say it's bringing you in 1,000. Yeah, a week or whatever. I'm just throwing numbers around. I'm not doing real numbers, so don't take this real right now. But I'm just saying, I want you to understand what an asset is. These are assets. They're bringing you in money, but this is what it's worth on paper. This doesn't mean you can sell it at this, but what it does mean is this is what the blue book value, for the lack of a better term, is, right, for your business and your rental property. Okay. Now, let's say you have, for your business, you have cars. Let's say you have a truck that is also making you money, right? You could call that an asset. You can, but it's more so a liability because you're putting it under the business, right? So you could do that, but again, because it's a part of the business, you could sell it and it could bring you in money. But that I would put more so under investments, and I'm going to show you why. And I use this investment column differently. These are going to bring me in money every week or whatever. We know that, right? Now, liabilities are what it's costing you for your assets. They're also expenses, but I'll show you what I mean by that. So for instance, let's say I got a loan to get my rental property. So my rental property loan, right? I didn't mean to put it over there. That was an accident. Oh, it's not. Okay, it is here. My rental property loan is $1,000. Let's say my rental property loan, excuse me. But I said I got it for 50,000. Let's say it was 30,000 they gave me in the loan, right? And I put down, what would that be? 10% is 20,000. No, 10% would be 5,000, 10,000, 20. So my loan would be 40,000. I put down 10%. Right? So let's say the rental property is 40,000. That loan, I got to pay this loan back. That's a liability. But you see the difference. My rental property is worth 200,000. So my net worth just from this went up 150,000. I just got this on a real good deal. Right? Now, let's say that this rental property is bringing me in $1,200 a month. But I might want to sell it and get an instant $150,000, $200,000 or whatever I can get off of it, because I only spent for 50,000. Even if I make 100,000 off of it, I doubled my money. But I might be able to get more. That's an asset, right? That is an asset. It's bringing me in cash flow. Now, what is a stock? I mean, what is an investment? An investment is something you buy, you hold, but it's not giving you any money while you're holding it. So for instance, let's say I buy a stock for $5 and I'm holding it until it hits 50, or I'm holding it until it hits $20, or I'm holding it during that time. That stock would be an investment. And let's say I bought $5,000 worth of that stock, right? Or crypto. Crypto's the same way. Boom. Let's say I bought $3,000 worth of crypto, right? That goes in the investment column because I'm holding them. I could sell them tomorrow, but it's not cash flow until I sell it. I have to do some work in order for me to make money off of it. Now, if this stock gives dividends on a regular basis, it's paying me dividends on a regular basis that I can calculate when the dividends are going to take place, then this stock dividend, right? I'm going to call it dividend stock for right now. This stock with the dividends is a asset because it's going to bring me cash flow on a regular basis. So let's say even if I'm just getting $100 off of that, it's bringing me cash flow. This is what I want you to get. Right? Because we want to increase the cash flow for a purpose, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So now the dividend in stock, right, is going to now give me, let's say I got $5,000 of this stock, but I'm getting $100 in dividends every quarter, right? Or I could be more than that, but I'm just using that as I'm just using that. It could be anything depending on the percentage. It could be less, it could be more, but it's cash flow coming in. That's a dividend stock. Now, another investment is investment property. That's different than rental property. Rental property, I'm getting cash flow. And investment property, I'm going to flip. I'm not getting cash flow. I don't get cash flow. I don't get cash until it sells. When I sell it, it goes into cash on hand. It doesn't go into cash flow. It's cash on hand. You understand? So therefore, the investment property is something I'm going to flip. So let's say I got this investment property and it's worth $500,000, right? But I bought the investment property over here I got it for 200,000. But I got the loan, right, for 200,000. Right? Now 200,000, but when I sell this at $500,000, even if I sell it for 400,000, I've doubled my money. Even if I sell it for 350,000, I made $150,000 I made $150,000 off of it. So I'm not mad at that. The least time I can hold it and the less I have to pay in interest for this property loan that I got, right? Which I'm not going to get into interest on loan tonight. But the least I pay on it, the quicker I can get this off, the better, because I'm going to pay the least amount of interest. All I have to do is make sure that the interest payments on this, as long as I have to hold this, is less than my profit is going to be when I sell it. And I've already won. That's why loans are good. You just need to know the terms, and you need to know you have to have an exit strategy to properly get out of anything that you're doing in order for it to be successful, right? So the key thing here in understanding investments is these are items that are not going to bring in cash flow that you have to sell in order to get a profit. That's why furniture could land over here versus an asset. Investments are what the normal term, or the contemporary, not the contemporary, but the I want to say average, but that's not the word that I'm looking for. And it's not contemporary. It is the accepted, let's use that word, the accepted term for assets. Investments fit in that, right? Accounts fit in that. All that fits inside of there. But what I want you to get is, I want us to understand that you don't have a true asset unless it is bringing in cash flow. These are good to have though, because investment properties, flipping them, I like that, because you don't have to worry about all the extra bills and liabilities that are going to come, and expenses that are going to come with it. So this rental property here, right? Whatever I'm paying on this monthly, let's say I'm paying on the rental property, let's say I'm paying $500 a month to that, back on that loan. And the investment property, right, I'm paying back, what would that be? Let's say a month, probably about 2,000 to 3,000. Let's say about 3,000 a month on that loan, right? if that takes place, right, 3,000 a month, I got to make sure my cash flow is above that. See what I'm saying? So we got to make sure our cash flow is above that. And we're at 4,000. So we're back. We would be backwards in this. We would be upside down in our cash. So we need to add more what? Cash flow. Here, right? In order to be able to take over this, if these were real numbers. So we either need to we need to sell stock, right? We need to we need to sell investment property, or we need to sell the rental property, or we need to increase monies coming in the business. Let's say we increase monies in the business and now we're at 2,000. Now we're above board. We got $700 in surplus. We got $700 in surplus coming in every single month above our bills. However, I got investment properties that I can sell and flip, and now I'm going to have $500,000 in cash on hand, right? So let's say we sell the investment property, but we sell it for, let's say, $350,000. Now my cash on hand is $350,000 plus $5,000, which is what, $355,000, right? But where are we going to put that $350,000? We're going to put that $350,000 in this example because it's the only thing we know how to do at this juncture. We'll talk about other things in the next later. 355,000 at 1%, right? Return. So at the end of the year now, at 1%, at 355,000, right? We're going to end up with 1%. 10% would be 35. It would actually be $3,550 at the end of the year in interest bearing. So now we're here at a higher yield. But we're talking about at only 1%. That's why the key thing is getting this percentage higher. And most instruments that are going to get you something higher than 1% are hidden. Let's say we even took out a CD. And I know interest rates on CDs is about 1% right now, but let's say it's the old school CD that's giving you 3% or 4%. But we're gonna take 350 or 300,000 of that and put it in a CD, move it. So 300,000 would leave us with what, 10,000 here? 300 no, it would leave us with 55,000, right? Yeah, 55,000 here, right? So we're at 300,000 here, but now let's say we're at 3% on there. So now we're at 3%. But this 3%, we'll be doing this. So let's go CD 300,000, right? And now we're at 5,500 in here at 1%. We got this at 3%. So now what would our yield be? We would have, at the end of the year, we're going to get 1% on 55,000, which would be what, $550? And then 3% on 300,000, which would be 300,000 times 1% would be what, 3,000. So we'll be at $9,000 at the end of the year. That's almost $10,000 in interest coming in that we've now built. So what is our goal? Our goal, now we've got interest coming in. Let me put yield here so we can get this. And let me do a mathematical equation real quick on in this program. So let me see what I want to do. equals, let's do you here. We can do it right here. Equals sum 55,000. Oh no, I want what's that? H20 times what's that? J20? No, I20. And that should give me 550. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So we're good. All right, so we got that. So now I'm just gonna run this down just so it knows. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we got, let me add that color. All right, so this is the yield. I need to remove this line. Actually, I'm not going to get into that right now. So anyway, so this is the APY. This is the yield. I want to merge these. Let me merge these. No, merge. I can't remember which one it is on this one. Anyway, so don't worry about it. So anyway, this is all interest right here, right? So item savings 55. So we're at 55 plus 9,000, right? So we're now at what? I'm gonna put total here. Total interest. And at this total, we're gonna be at equals some J20, J27. Yes, that's what I want. Perfect. 9,550, right? So because of that, this right here, we've just increased what we're looking for, interest. And this is the key. This is why the wealthy don't spend money and they don't spend credit. What are they doing with their money? With their money, at first, they're buying assets that are going to create cash flow, right? First thing that they're going to do is buy assets that create cash flow until their cash flow overtakes their expenses. Once their cash flow overtakes their expenses, they're going to take that surplus and put it into the bank, which is right into an account. They're going to put that into either a savings account, a CD. And I'm going to show you other accounts that you're going to be able to create that are going to be more lucrative, that are going to give you way higher returns with no risk. Okay. Way higher returns, way higher. So we will be using this. We will be coming back to this over and over and over again, this chart, as we go through it, because this is the key to the game. So they're buying assets, they're buying investments, they're buying and then they're buying to bring in cash flow that will overtake their expenses, give them more than what their expenses is, which is called surplus or profit. And then they're going to take that money and put it in the highest interest bearing accounts that they can find. That's going to bring them what? More interest every single month. Every single year. And some things will bring you in interest every single month. So cash flow, right, is the key to be able to create a surplus, to be able to put into an account to create interest. The only purpose for investments and assets is to create cash flow and cash on hand that can be put into an account that will give you the highest amount of interest to live off of. This is the key. This is the cycle to wealth. And the key is interest coming to you. So instead of you making interest payments, they're going to pay you interest. And when you can master switching from you paying out to your money now working for you while you're not working, just imagine, instead of getting this second job, your interest or the money that you're making in your accounts on interest is your second job. Your money is now working for you. And now it's like while you're working your first job, it's making money for you at the same time. That is what we're talking about here. So with that, I'm going to open up for any questions. If anybody has any questions, you can type into the chat the question to me. If we got anybody with any questions. I don't see anything in the chat right now, but you should be able to type to me if you had a question. I appreciate everybody that's on that is actually watching this and joining us. But I did start late. I know people might have had guests. Share this with them. Share this on your page. Share this with others. We will have more coming, and I'll be sending out those links and the information in order for them to join those events. Okay. So do we have any questions? If you actually watch this on a replay or something like that, you can also put your chat on. Okay. I need to screenshot this chart. How do I do that? It depends on the device that you're on. What are you on? What device are you on? You're on a computer, you can't screenshot it. What type? Are you on a laptop? You're on a laptop. I don't know what type of laptop are you on? I know I'm on, but I'm on a tablet laptop. I'm not on like the older laptop. What you can do, I'm trying to think of a way you can print your screen. You can hit the button called print screen and it will save it. Or you could take a picture of it with your phone, is what I would do. Take a picture of it with your phone and email it to yourself. Let me remove that phone number so you can get a clear shot at it. So hold 1 second. Hold 1 second. Okay, go ahead and let me know when you're done so I can put that back up. And hopefully you all got a lot out of this. Like, this is a lot of information, but I'm praying that you were able to get a lot out of it and that you were able to grow from it. This is a very important important workshop, because this workshop, as a matter of fact, I might put a link to this. I got to figure out how to do that. I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's real easy. It's not something hard for me to do, but I'm going to figure that out because I want to make sure that you were able to print and save to your good job. Okay, great. All right. So I want to make sure this is available to everyone. So I might definitely do that. If I do, it's going to be on a YouTube page. So you definitely want to join my YouTube. The link, I believe, for the YouTube is at the top as well. We have somebody else clicking in chat. Okay, great, April. I'm glad, Aviva, I'm glad you got that. It was very educational, wonderful. Gratitude to you as well. Outstanding. I'm glad you got something out of it. I'm glad you got something out of that. So that's great. That's great. You were just in school, huh? Well, this is something that we're not taught, and it's very important. So I'm happy to hear that. Did anybody else have any comments or anything or any questions? All right. So I want you guys to make sure that you share this with everybody. Share it on your pages, share it everywhere so people are clear and that they can get on the next event. The next event again is at Dow. You can find it at Dawit Israel Credit Repair as well. I'll be sending it out as well, and hopefully we can get as many people on here as possible. Very important information. So with that, guys, I appreciate everyone's evening. You ladies have a great evening. See you all at the top. Peace.